Andre Katz-Curran with Netflix.com, along with Matt Perino of UFC.com, calling in from the airport in Chicago right after UFC 225. Matt, hope you got some sleep last night. A long night, but a great night of fights. What did you think of the whole night?
I got a couple hours, but it was hard to sleep because from start to finish, I mean, this card, we talked about it going into the week, how stacked it was, and it delivered from the Fight Pass prelims, FS1, your guy Curtis Blades with a, career-defining win.
Yes, sir.
On
yeah,
the FS1 prelims as well.
Definitely.
Then you go on to the main card, and obviously so much to unpack there.
Yeah, just talking about Curtis Blades, definitely putting himself in title consideration after UFC 226 with Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. We'll see if Blades gets that title shot. But first, let's talk about that main event, Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker. What a classic of a fight again. These two have gone 10 rounds now, and every round seems like it's just been an absolute brawl. Saturday night's fight was just a classic in my eyes, and I thought the judges scored it right. I think Whittaker took 3 rounds. I think Romero had the more explosive moments throughout the fight. He had the big hits, the big ooh-ah moments. But I think Whittaker controlled the fight from especially the first 2 rounds. He had more consistency throughout the fight, and I think he deservedly won it. What did you think?
I have no problem with Robert Whittaker taking the 3-2 rounds. Watching it live, I felt that Romero had won the final 3 rounds. And depending on how the judges are going to score it, using any potential 10-8 rounds, I thought it could come close, maybe even a draw. I thought maybe Whittaker might have taken the 10-8 round in one of those first 2 because he was so lopsided with the striking. Yoel Romero's approach to the fight was interesting. He came out completely different than he usually does. Kind of waiting. He took some shots. At the end of the second round, his eye was really, really damaged. I heard somebody on press row suggest that, man, the doctor might look at this and stop the fight, and he went out and fought 15 more minutes. But it was a spectacular fight. I mean, you talk about 2 world-class fighters. I tweeted out, man, these 2 guys aren't even human. I mean, I was amazed at the shots they were both taking. Whittaker in the 4th round, I think he was rocked like 3 different separate occasions. It was just a tremendous display of, fortitude and will and championship heart in those later rounds. These are 2 of the all-time greats already, and, I think there's still a lot of runway for both of them.
I have to agree with you said about the 4th round. They could have gotten either way. I know that was the only round that was scored differently by the judges. One judge had it for Romero, the 2 officials had it for Whittaker, because Romero really came out later in that round and had a couple big blows and kind of turned the tide to his favor. But again, that's a good thing you bring up, the 10-8 round. Some people suggesting that Romero in the 5th round, that should have been a 10-8 round. What did you think of that? And why do you think there were no 10-8 rounds when the UFC has come out and said that they should start giving it? They really didn't see it last night in that main event.
Right. I think for me, a 10-8 round has to be something like very significant to happen, right? But as we've seen over the course of time, sometimes judges give 10-8 rounds and there's not really a lot of understanding why. I would want to see somebody almost finished to see like a 10-8 round. I thought there was a few instances where Romero had Whittaker close. In the 4th round, 4th or the 3rd, I can't remember because it was such a crazy fight. It was a 3rd round where I thought the referee was about to stop the fight. And that's the type of situation where, when it's so one-sided like that, and you come close to a finish, I would think that you would get a 10-8 round. Could have made this a draw, but I've no problem with the outcome. Whittaker, the way that this is the 2nd fight in a row. I'm actually just writing about it this morning. The 2nd fight in a row, this guy suffered a 1st round serious catastrophic injury, and he goes on to fight 20 minutes of just unbelievable performance. I can't say enough about Robert Whittaker.
It's unbelievable. You're right. It is unbelievable. Broke his hand in the fight. I think he's very underrated. A lot of people talk about Robert Whittaker. The guy that needs more love. I know he's a fan favorite in Australia, but this guy's a true champion. And back to Romero, with him missing weight, back-to-back fights now, do you think this is the last time he fights in the middleweight division? Do you think he takes a step up?
Yeah, I would like to see it. And Dana alluded to it last night at the press conference, and he'd like to see it too. And I think it's just something that, when these guys are struggling so much to make weight, and then you see guys like Rafael dos Anjos, who challenged for the interim welterweight title, who was the 155 champ, Whittaker, who was a welterweight contender for a while, and now look at everything he's done at middleweight. There's no reason, I don't think, for Romero to move up. And can you imagine? I mean, you talk about light heavyweights, there only being those three guys at the top. Romero could fight Gustafsson, maybe Cormier, eventually maybe even John Jones. I mean, there's so many potential new matchups for him there that I think that it's not worth the tough weight cut for him anymore. Even when he came in and was prepared and knew, months out that he was going to get this fight, it still came down to the final minute. And I just don't think for a guy this talented, he should deplete his body. I'd like to see what he looks like if he's completely 100% healthy.
Yeah, he did not look good at all on Friday in the weigh-in. He did not look healthy at all. So yeah, maybe moving up a weight class is the right step for him. Let's move on to the co-main, Colby Covington, winning that one, unanimous decision against RDA, getting the interim welterweight title belt. And then coming out of the press conference, first thing he does is drink nerd tears, and then bashes the Philadelphia Eagles. Wild press conference. You were there. What was some of the reaction from some of the other media folks in that press conference afterwards?
I think a lot of people are impressed with Colby Covington. I mean, first of all, I will say, I noticed Chael Sonnen tweeted out, making the welterweight division great again. And I think that's so funny because I feel like Colby Covington's taken a page out of the Chael Sonnen book with this whole shtick that he's developed. And you know what? Like we talked about before this call, I mean, it's working. People want to watch this guy, whether you want to watch him lose or watch him win. That's the key to this game, making people want to watch you for whatever reason that it is. And what he did last night was impressive. RDA threw everything at him. RDA is a cardio machine, a guy that's good everywhere. And Colby Covington took all of his shots, implemented his game plan, put that sick pace on him. I mean, that's one thing that I do agree with Colby when he talks about his gas tank. There's nothing like it. I mean, he took some big shots in that fight, and even in the fifth round was still pushing the pace and dragging RDA into deep waters, just grinding on him, dragging him down. I think he scored like 8 of 17 takedowns in the fight. He makes things a grind. And this Tyron Woodley fight that's on the horizon now is huge. I mean, you're talking about, Covington's got a lot of interest. Woodley now would be going for, I think, his third title defense, a guy that's been waiting for a dance partner to kind of bring him to the next level. I think it's a perfect scenario for the welterweight division, and I think both guys, with this matchup now lying ahead and all of the bad blood, I think it's going to be an exciting summer.
Yeah, Covington alluded to the Madison Square Garden card in November for that potential fight. That would be fantastic. Just the lead up to it, and we'll see if Covington has any trash talk to say about New York City. If he doesn't like the city of Chicago, what does he have to say about New York City? But let's move on to some of the other fights in the card. Holly Holm coming out with another big win. Looks like she's targeting. She wants her old belt back. Very interesting performance by Holly Holm. She took the fight to the ground and won in a way that she hasn't won before. What did you think of her performance?
I think that I'm super impressed with Holly. This is about what I expected. I thought it would be a little bit more. I thought there'd be a little bit more exchanges. Holly, her team has talked for a while about her ability to wrestle and her ability on the ground, and I think we're finally starting to see that. People forget Holly Holm's only been fighting professional MMA for 4 or 5 years. I mean, her rise in the sport was something spectacular, and all she has done in her time in the UFC is fight the best of the best. Ronda Rousey, Valentina Shevchenko, Chris Cyborg. She's taken all of the big fights, and Megan Anderson, this was a big spot for her debut. I think that maybe in hindsight, a little bit too lofty of expectations placed on her, but it's a good experience for her too, because she comes in here, she mixed it up with Holly Holm a little bit. She realizes what parts of her game she needs to work on. But for Holm, I think it's perfect. She's the number 1 ranked women's bantamweight. That division is starving for like a big fight. Look at the top 5. Even the Raquel Pennington fight was a little bit like, in the lead. I didn't feel like there was a lot of energy behind that
right.
matchup. And I think now you put Holly with Amanda Nunes back at 135, the whole redemption, getting her belt back, the 2 women that took out Ronda Rousey in succession. There's a lot of momentum there, and I think that the matchup is very advantageous for Holly Holm. I told you when we talked a few days ago. I think Holm is going to cause serious problems for Nunes because Nunes, same type of thing, likes to come forward with her aggressive striking. Well, against Holly Holm, when she's going to get you in the clinch, she's very strong. She's going to look to counter strike. That's a very, very interesting matchup at 135 pounds.
I think her whole attitude towards that fight will have changed too, Holly Holm. She's been out there with Cyborg. She was the first fighter to take Cyborg to full 5 rounds. That has to support your confidence going into that fight. I think Holm will be better prepared. That'll be a great fight to see. To get some of the other fights now on that card, the 2 heavyweight battles. We talked about Curtis Blades briefly, putting himself in the title contention, and you get Tyron Woodley getting a W as well. Well, how do you think that whole division shakes up now going forward, especially with this Miocic-Cormier fight on the horizon? What do you think happens after that?
So I think that, first of all, that Cormier Stipe Miocic fight is like this. It's like the year for that fight. That's going to be that's going to dominate the summer. On that same card, you got Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou.
Oh, that's going to be a wild fight.
Oh my gosh! This is the resurgence of the heavyweight division, really, right?
Yeah.
You got Tai Tuivasa, Curtis Blades coming out party. The guy was already on a 3-fight win streak, extends to 4 in a big way. So now you have this collection of new blood with Ngannou, Lewis, Tuivasa, and Blades. What I think is going to end up happening is, who knows? Dana doesn't make fights after the fights, but you got the winner of Stipe versus DC, however that ends up going. I'd almost like to see Blades fight the winner of Ngannou Lewis for the chance to fight the winner of that fight. So it gives them a little bit more runway in terms of, developing themselves as personalities and stars in the sport. And then that sets up a later this year massive matchup, because by that time, with that fight, whoever it ends up being, if it's Ngannou versus Blades rematch or Derek Lewis versus Blades, that's a massive, massive fight. And I still think Tuivasa looked good against Andrei Arlovski, but he's still very, very young. It's only his 3rd fight in the UFC. I don't want to rush him either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other options in the weight class to watch him progress, but definitely agree with you. Big, big, big year for the heavyweights.
Yeah, seriously, Curtis Blades, what a victory there. Those elbows he was putting all over him. That's a huge win for him. Good for the kid. He's such a modest, humble kid as well, and just happy to see that for him. And really good to see him put on Matt Jackson. What are your thoughts on that? I thought it was a disgusting fight. I'm on Dana White's side on this. There's some moments where Mike Jackson really kind of finished the fight, and he didn't. I don't know what he was trying to do there. Maybe get some more airtime. I don't know. What did you think of that?
All respect to CM Punk. We talked about it all week. I think the biggest story, of this fight week wasn't necessarily CM Punk, should he be on the main card? Should he be fighting in the UFC? I think it's just a story of a guy that, was embarrassed the first time out, and he decided to dedicate his life for 2 years to coming back and trying again. Didn't go his way. He showed some toughness in the fight, but I think it's time to move on. Dana said he thinks this is probably a wrap. He's not a UFC caliber fighter, and I don't think that he would argue that he is. If it's something that he still wants to do, and that's by all means, I hope if it's something that he's passionate about, he continues to do it. Maybe just try to at the lower level and try to find even Mike Jackson, a guy that's has some professional experience, in the past. You could tell the difference in their striking. I'd just like to see CM Punk, if he wants to continue, just fight guys, more at the amateur level, making their pro debut.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, I felt like watching that fight last night, I was watching the 2 worst fighters in the entire promotion going at it against each other. That's what it felt like in my eyes. Maybe that's a little mean and harsh. That's what I thought when watching that fight.
No, I think anybody going into that fight should have expected that, though. We talked a lot about it. CM Punk's a big name in the professional wrestling world, but let's be honest. Talking about UFC caliber fighters, this was never going to be on that level.
You know what? Though, Bob watching that, you know what it makes more impressive is what Brock Lesnar did, because he made that same transition too from WWE to MMA, and he became a champion. So it's just
for sure.
Props to Brock Lesnar. It's not easy to do what he did, and Lesnar did it in the best way possible. So,
big difference there, though. Remember, Brock Lesnar was a multiple-time NCAA national champion wrestler. Okay,
true.
This is a guy that was a freak athlete, a monster. Trust me, I agree, though. What he did in professional MMA after not doing it, just training for, a short amount of time and then coming over and winning the world heavyweight champion. Yes, but he was a very accomplished wrestler, which traditionally in MMA, wrestlers have the most success in professional mixed martial arts. But, yeah, I mean, CM Punk with no experience at late 30s, it was never really a recipe for success, I don't think.
All right, let's wrap this up. I want you to pick one fight that we haven't talked about that stood out for you, that was entertaining, or just want to talk about it. Which one was it?
Sergio Pettis, man. That's a massive, massive signature career win for him. A guy is coming off a loss to Henry Cejudo, who, which was not a really, great fight by any stretch. Cejudo just kind of grounded him for 3 rounds. But Cejudo's going to face Demetrius Johnson. Sergio Pettis just beat the number 1 guy in Joseph Benavidez, a guy that the only people that have beat him in history are Dominic Cruz and Demetrius Johnson. Yeah. And that's a hell of a run for Joseph Benavidez to suffer his first loss to, a non-future Hall of Famer. Sergio Pettis now sets himself up for, the winner of DJ Cejudo. And we've been waiting for Pettis for 5 years. You think back to his older brother Anthony's success, and we've been waiting for Sergio to get that shot at Demetrius Johnson. He's asked about it every time he does media, every time he has a fight coming up. And, this could finally be this kid's time. And I think it's an exciting time for the flyweight division. He's a really, really fun fighter to watch and a really, really good person. And, I've just enjoyed talking to him over the years. It's tough. I have a little brother who tells me all the time how tough it is to, be the younger sibling. You get picked on and you get beat up when you're little. So he's lived in the shadow of Anthony Showtime Pettis, the Wheaties box kid, for a long time. And now he's kind of stepping out of that shell, and it's an exciting time for the flyweight division.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing worse than being under the shadow of Matt Perino. It's a very tough shadow to get out of. It's just a dark shadow. It's so hard to get out of it. Well, the fight that stood out to me, I'm not going to lie to you, my favorite fight of the night, heavyweight battle, the FS1 prelims, Chris De La Rocha and Rashad Coulter. That was so entertaining to watch. 2 massive heavyweights just brawling. It was a spectacle. I thought it was great. I love both of those guys. I wish the fight was for them. What did you think of that? Did you watch any of that, or?
Yeah, I did. I watched the fight. It was a barn burner. It was a throwback heavyweight slugfest, right?
Yeah, they reminded me of Roy Nelson a little bit. They looked a little, chunky. It was great.
Yeah, it was. I was amazed watching it octagon side. I was shocked at how those 2 chins held up, because those guys were stalking each other, especially Coulter. I mean, De La Rocha. I mean, he's a cyborg, man. I can't believe he walked through the shots that he walked through. So, yeah, man, top to bottom, what a phenomenal card.
Yeah, excellent night of fighting. And we don't have that many fights left until fight week. Next week we have Cowboy Cerrone and Leon Edwards in Singapore, and then we got a bit of a hiatus until the international fight week. So, Matt, we'll see you there at UFC 226.
Can't wait.
Thank you for joining us. It was a fantastic night of fighting on Saturday night in Chicago. Talk to you soon, Matt. Thanks again.
All right, take care.